Just as pollution was a side effect of the Industrial Revolution, so are the many security vulnerabilities that come with the current digital revolution and our increasing internet connectivity. Cyber attacks are exploitations of those system or software vulnerabilities. These attacks could be for monetary gain or just to disable a company's ability to do business. Unless you've been living under a rock, I'm sure you've heard that cyber attacks are an increasing threat for businesses of all sizes. Small businesses are attractive targets because they have information that cyber criminals want, and they typically lack the security infrastructure of larger businesses. Small business are most vulnerable to cyber attacks because they generally can't afford professional IT staff or a dedicated cyber threat department and have limited time to devote to cybersecurity, and in most cases they don't even know where to begin. That's where this set of targeted and easy-to-consume, instructional videos come in. In this set of videos we'll examine the most common cyber attacks that businesses are facing and ways to avoid them. Designed to educate individuals and businesses about ways to counter cyber attacks using a variety of security measures and just good old common sense. This collection of videos will cover specific cyber threats, how a business may be vulnerable, and how to take steps to improve cybersecurity using the current best practices. Cryptojacking is malicious cryptomining and the covert use of network systems and/or computer resources to mine cryptocurrency without detection. Cryptojacking is initiated by malware or through embedded website code. With the popularity and value of cryptocurrencies on the rise, more cybercriminals are using ransomware-like tactics and poison websites to get employees' computers to mine cryptocurrencies. It's been determined that a large majority of these kinds of attacks will present themselves through adware and phishing attempts. Detecting it can be difficult, especially if only a few systems are compromised. The most effective methods currently are to install an ad blocking or anti-cryptomining extension on web browsers. Cryptojacking scripts are also sometimes delivered through web ads, so installing an ad blocker can be effective as well. There are also browser extensions which are designed to detect and block cryptomining scripts. Also, many of the endpoint protection/antivirus software companies have added crypto miner detection to their antivirus products. But remember, none of the current best practices are 100% foolproof, so be sure to update software, company policies, and employee training so they are better able to identify cryptojacking attempts and respond accordingly. A denial-of-service attack focuses on disrupting the service of a network. Attackers send high volumes of data or traffic through the network, i.e. making lots of connection requests, until the network becomes overloaded and can no longer function. There are a few different ways attackers can achieve denial-of-service attacks, but the most common is the distributed denial-of-service attack. This involves the attacker using multiple computers to send the traffic or data that will overload the system. In many instances, a person may not even realize that his or her computer has been hijacked and is contributing to the attack. Disrupting service can have serious consequences to security and online access. Many instances of large-scale denial-of-service attacks have been implemented as a sign of protest toward governments or individuals and have led to severe punishment, including jail time. The best way to prevent a breach from this method is to keep your system as secure as possible, with regular software updates, online security monitoring, and by monitoring your data flow to identify any unusual or threatening spikes in traffic before they become a problem. Drive-by downloads are one of the most common methods used by cybercriminals to install malware and gain unauthorized access to your device. Through malware on a legitimate website, a program is downloaded to a user's system just by visiting the site. It doesn't require any type of action by the user to download. Typically, a small snippet of code is downloaded to the user's system, and that code then reaches out to another computer to get the rest and download the program. It often exploits vulnerabilities in the user's operating system or in different programs, such as Word, Java, and Adobe. To lower your risk, be sure all of your operating systems and software programs are up to date. Additionally, try to minimize the number of browser extensions you use, as these sometimes can be easily compromised. Here again, common sense and awareness is the best way to avert an attack. Keep your software and operating systems up to date, and for business systems, end-user cybersecurity training will help keep your networks free from drive-by downloads. Malvertising will compromise your computer with malicious code that is downloaded to your system when you click on an affected ad. Cyber criminals upload infected display ads to different sites using ad networks. These ads are then distributed to sites that match certain keywords and search criteria. Once a user clicks on one of these ads, the malware will be downloaded and infect the system or network. Malvertising is sometimes confused with adware. Malvertising refers to malicious code initially included in ads and/or associated sites. Adware is a program that runs on a user's computer. It's often installed hidden inside a package that also contains legitimate software. Any website can be subject to malvertising, and many don't even know they've been compromised. The best way to prevent falling victim to malvertising is to use common sense. Any ad that promises free iPhones or cruises to the Bahamas is probably too good to be true, and therefore could be hiding malware. Malicious ads are compelling because they often provoke strong emotions and calls to action, tricking users into revealing their sensitive data and more. Here again, common sense and awareness is the best way to avert an attack, and user training can also help to keep your systems free of malvertising. Malware is an all-encompassing term for a variety of cyber threats including Trojans, viruses, and worms. Malware is simply defined as code with malicious intent that typically steals data or destroys something on the computer. Malware is most often introduced to a system through email attachments, software downloads, or operating system vulnerabilities. The best way to prevent malware attacks is to avoid clicking on links or downloading attachments from unknown senders. Another method of protection is by deploying robust and updated firewalls, which prevent the transfer of large data files over the network in the hope of weeding out attachments that may contain malware. It's also important to make sure your computer's operating system, i.e. Windows, Mac OS X, and Linux, uses the most recent security updates. Software programmers update programs frequently to address any weak points that may have been discovered or exposed. Experienced computer users avert potential malware disasters by practicing skeptical computing, which assumes that any link, program, or download is potentially harmful until proven safe. This and end-user training are currently the best way for any computer users to stay safe from malware. The man-in-the-middle attack can obtain information from the end user and the entity he or she is communicating with by impersonating the endpoints in an online information exchange, i.e. the connection from your smartphone to a website. For example, if you are banking online, the man in the middle would communicate with you by impersonating your bank, and communicate with the bank by impersonating you. The man in the middle would then receive all of the information transferred between both parties, which could include sensitive data, such as bank accounts and personal information. Normally, a man in the middle gains access through a non-encrypted wireless access point, i.e. one that doesn't use proper security measures. They would then have access to all of the information being transferred between both parties. The best way to prevent them is to only use encrypted wireless access points that use WPA security or greater. If you need to connect to a website, make sure it uses an HTTPS connection, or, for better security, consider investing in a virtual private network, VPN. This will help protect you from man-in-the-middle attacks, along with a number of other cybersecurity threats. A password attack is exactly what it sounds like, a third party trying to gain access to your systems by cracking a user's password. This type of attack does not usually require any type of malicious code or software to run on the system. There is software that attackers use to try and crack your password, but this software is typically run on their own system. Cyber thieves use many methods to try and access accounts they're targeting, including brute force attacks made to guess passwords. Strong passwords are really the only way to safeguard against password attacks. This means using a combination of upper and lowercase letters, symbols and numbers, and having at least 8 characters or more. As a point of reference, an attacker using a brute force password cracking program can typically unlock a password with all lowercase letters in a matter of minutes. It's also recommended not to use words found in the dictionary, no matter how long they are. It just makes the password attacker's job easier. It's also good practice to change your passwords at regular intervals. Phishing is a method of trying to gather personal information using deceptive emails, social messages, and websites. Often posing as a request for data from a trusted third party, phishing attacks are sent via email or social media and ask users to click on a link and enter their personal data. Phishing methods have gotten much more sophisticated in recent years, making it difficult for people to discern a legitimate request for information from a false one. Phishing messages include a link that directs the user to a dummy site that will steal a user's information. In some cases, all a user has to do is click on the link. The best way to prevent phishing is to verify any requests for personal or business information that arrive via email, social media, or over the phone. If the message has a phone number, don't call that number, but rather find a published number online or within other documentation you've received from that source. While it might seem inconvenient to make a phone call to find out if a message is legitimate, the hassle of having your information stolen or your company's cybersecurity breached is much worse. So stay diligent when it comes to verifying incoming messages and emails. It's the first line of defense and currently the most effective way to avert phishing attacks. Ransomware is malicious software, malware, used in a cyber attack to encrypt the victim's data with an encryption key that is known only to the attacker, thereby rendering the data or functions of a network unusable until a ransom payment is made by the victim. Usually cryptocurrency is required for these ransom payments. The rise of ransomware over the past few years is a growing problem that has quickly become an extremely lucrative criminal enterprise. Targeted organizations often believe that paying the ransom is the most cost-effective way to get their data back or have their operating functions returned, and, unfortunately, this may be the reality in some cases, once the attack is underway. It's been determined that these attacks will cost the global economy trillions annually for years to come. So as with most cybersecurity defense, it starts with a good offense and awareness. Businesses can avert a ransomware attack by conducting regular security training for employees or end users. Along with reinforcing company policies regarding not sharing or revealing user credentials, even with IT and/or security, strong password requirements, and other basic cyber safety measures. Unfortunately, despite our best efforts, there may be threats that exploit previously unknown vulnerabilities. In that case, if attacked with ransomware, contact the authorities immediately. Rogue software is malware that masquerades as legitimate and necessary security software that's supposed to keep your system safe. Rogue security software designers make pop-up windows and alerts that look legitimate. These alerts advise the user to download security software, agree to terms, or update their current system in an effort to stay protected. By clicking yes to any of these scenarios, the rogue software is downloaded to the user's computer. In the case of a business network, making sure you have a secure firewall in place in your office will protect you and your employees from these types of attacks. It's also imperative to install a trusted antivirus or anti-spyware software program that can detect threats like rogue software. As with most types of crime, vigilance is one of the keys to prevention. As cyber criminals become more sophisticated and more transactions migrate online, the number of threats to people and businesses will continue to grow. Prepare yourself and your business by taking the time to secure your systems and make cybersecurity a priority. Trojans take their name from the hollow wooden horse that the Greeks hid inside of during the Trojan War. The Trojans, thinking the horse was a gift, opened their walled city to accept it, allowing the Greeks to come out of hiding at night and attack the sleeping Trojans. A Trojan virus is a type of malicious code or software that looks legitimate, but when opened can take control of your computer or network. A Trojan appears like an authentic application, link or file to deceive the user into loading and executing the malware on your device. Once installed, the Trojan virus can perform the malicious action it was designed for. To protect against Trojan malware, you should start with installing and running an antivirus security suite. Run periodic diagnostic scans, update your operating system's software frequently. It's also smart to check for updates on other software that you use on your system as well. Be especially careful with any email attachments. To stay safe, scan email attachments before you open them, and don't open unless you're confident it comes from a legitimate source. As with any cybersecurity defenses, it's difficult to stay 100% safe from Trojan attacks, so it pays to stay alert and check your sources before opening any links.